So you'd ask, well, okay, how do I transfer that drawing to my canvas? The answer is Saral Artist Transfer Paper. It is wax-free. You can get it from any of the online art stores, and usually your art supply store will carry it. It comes in a variety of colors. I almost exclusively use the white, mostly because when I tone my canvas, I tone it with a burnt sienna. Remember earlier I already talked about my masonite and using a neutral gray. I use a burnt sienna now to create warmth. Again, talk about that a bit more when I'm doing paintings. So I will pull off a section of the paper, and it will be put underneath the tracing paper. I will use a variety of different colors of Sharpies. As I am, like I said, the first layer I'll draw in an orange. The paper will come off, it will come around, I will work on the painting. I've lost the drawing, time to change again. I will put the paper under the drawing and say I'll use a purple. That way I know I'm not going, did I already transfer this? Is it whatever? I can kind of keep track of it. Again, it's just something I've sort of developed. All of this is my own particular way of doing things. And as I say, artists, should find their own path. This is just what works for me. So now we're going to talk a bit about the brushes. There's basically two different schools of thought as far as brushes go. Now, obviously, there's multiple things in each category, but one is the flats, which tend to be used more by oil painters who are standing and doing big strokes. I know watercolors use them a lot. I use them very rarely. The brush of choice that I use are rounds. This is actually a brand new one. I'm pulling this little lid off. This is a low Cornell 70-20 ultra round. This is an 8. I use anywhere from a 4 to a 12 with these. The reason I like this brush so much is because it holds a lot of paint in this area and then still comes to a very fine point for a long time. Acrylic paint is very hard on brushes. No need to spend your money on sable brushes. These synthetics work very well. And after a bit of time, when they start losing their point, they still are very useful. This is one that is, as you can see, is very scrunched over. It's completely lost its point and very scrunched over. When I am doing scrumbling effects, which is pushing the brush against the surface like this to create grasses and bushes and different things, these old ones that have lost their point are still incredibly valuable. So I have a drawer full of these. Another brush that I use a lot is a rake. Now, from the camera view, it's probably not very obvious, but there are little sections pulled out of this. The rake is very good for creating grasses, particularly in the background. For some reason, these have become fairly hard to find. I did find this low Cornell 71-20 still on Jerry's Artorama on the website. But there are other manufacturers of the rake. Now, one of the students at my last workshop said, well, why don't you take a flat and just take scissors and sort of cut out your own, areas, just like my hairdresser does with my hair. I think it's a great idea. I haven't tried it yet, but might be worth a try. The other thing I use is a big mop brush. I'll use one like this or one that's a little bit more tapered. Don't use the white Japanese brushes. Those are really for watercolor, and the bristles will break off and you get them stuck in your paint. Easy enough to pull off with watercolor, you can just brush them off. Not so easy with acrylic. So these big mop brushes I'll use for big washes and different things like that. I actually have no idea what the brand is because it's very old, but you can see just any of these big soft mop brushes, and again ones that come to a little bit more of a point. Those I use a lot for doing washes and that sort of thing. So one of the secrets of my techniques is I utilize a lot of different things besides brushes to sort of try to create an organic look to my paintings. At least it's for the underpainting that then I can work on. I think the human mind just can't conceive of the randomness of nature. If you try to paint these things without using this sort of organic textures that I'm going to show you the tools for, I think is almost impossible. So one of my fun tools is just a regular old toothbrush. This is dabbed into paint, and then you pull your finger across it and the paint will splatter onto your surface. You will have to experiment how wet it is, but you can use this for dirt, pebbles, sand, even sparkles of snow, in the sunlight. Something that I use a lot is a hair dryer. Because I paint in multiple layers, I'm constantly hitting it with the hair dryer to dry the layers so that I can immediately put the next layer on. I can create a painting in a much shorter time than an oil painter because I can do this. I can speed up the drying time and just keep layering it, and it's dry. 24 hours later I can varnish it, I can put it in a crate or in a vehicle and head to a show. So a hair dryer is really important. As far as creating other fun textures, one of the things I use is just saran wrap that you buy just in any grocery store. And I will pull off just little lengths of it at any one time. And I'll show you these techniques in my Creative Jumpstart. But this can be used by crumpling it up and putting it into wet paint for all sorts of things. I use it for bark, I use it for rocks, I'll use it even to create the under texture of an elephant skin. It's extremely versatile and one of my most important tools. Another thing would be natural sea sponges. You can buy packages of these almost in any hobby store, art supply store, whatever. Usually comes in a package with a variety. Something with this big of a texture, you can kind of get it and groom it, pick off pieces so that it does what you want. You can dip it into your paint and use it to create, say, far-off bushes or treetops. These ones that have a very fine texture, I find are great for depicting things like moss. So I do use these sea sponges a lot. The other thing is a foam sponge. Now this is a sponge that you would buy, say at Hobby Lobby, in the quote-unquote, furniture area. This is the kind of foam sponge that goes into a cushion of a couch or a chair. You can buy it in a square. You want to buy it so it's this couple inches thick so that it fits into your hand. Now it comes in a big square. You'll just cut out a section. Then you'll take your fingers and you'll pick off the corners. This can be used in a variety of ways. One of the things that I do with it, and I will show in my Creative Jumpstart series, is a gradated sky. It goes from dark to light, and it's all done with this sponge instead of, say, an airbrush. This is also used when I want to push a background far away, when I want to create some atmosphere. It's also used sort of for the breath of, say, an animal breathing where it's cold. So I do utilize this brush a lot. So I hope you've enjoyed this introduction and a look into my tools, and I look forward to sharing this with you in my Creative Jumpstart series, and as I said, beginning with my fox painting. See you there.